Hey everybody, it's me Stacey here at Scrapbooking Made Simple, and it is time for Saturday with Stacey YouTube number 234. I am back. A little jet lagged still, but I am back. Where was I? Well, I went to Creativation, which is a trade show for retailers only. It's in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's part of the Craft and Hobby organization. And that's where we go every year, we retailers, to find the most amazing products to bring to you. So we see all the new releases from all of your favorite companies. We can't buy anything and take it home with us, but we get to order it, and that way it comes in between now and all the way through August. So I've seen a lot of product through summer. I know what's coming. Oh my goodness gracious. But then I came home and I was here just long enough to do my laundry and then hop a plane over to Germany. I was in Frankfurt, and I go to Creative World, which is the European trade show for retailers. And not a lot of US companies go over there, but I tell you, they have such a unique perspective on crafting, and the product they bring to the market is so different than what we do here in the United States that for me it is a wealth of inspiration. And then to find stuff that's so amazing that I can bring back to the United States, then it's even better, because then you get to share in all of that yummy product. So I was over in Germany for several days, and I'm back again, a little jet lagged, but good to be home. We have got a full YouTube for you today. It is absolutely technique driven. It is going to be about embossing powders. So if you already know a lot about embossing powders, perhaps the first things I do may be, oh, you already know that. But I'm hoping to take it to a different level. I'm hoping to show you something that maybe you hadn't thought of before. Maybe it's a new way of looking at those embossing powders that you have. And then I'm also incorporating beautiful stamps and dies from Stampendous. Now this YouTube was supposed to have been done last year in October, at the 1st of October, but that was when my mom passed away. So this YouTube had to sit until we could finally make room for it, and now is the time. Everything last year seemed to have to kind of remanage and fit into a new place, but I'm hoping for a much better 2018. And if what I saw at Creativation or Creative World is what's to come for the crafting industry, I think we all are going to be just thrilled that we chose this as our hobby. Or maybe it chose us. Or maybe our friends helped us get into it, and now we're cursing them because we have so much that so our stash, our little arsenal at home has exploded with crafty products. But I think that this is an interesting way of looking at embossing powders. And for those of you who don't know anything about embossing powders, well, I'm going to start at the very beginning for you, because I don't want to assume that you know exactly what I'm talking about. You need to see it, understand it, and I'll be quick about it so that those who do know are not, waiting with bated breath, when is she moving on? But it is important that those of you who are new to crafting can see what can be done, and that it's explained to you in a manner that we don't just assume that you've been crafting for 100 years and you should know this. Everybody has to start somewhere, and everything I'm going to do today, I promise you're going to be able to do. Even if this is your first YouTube video ever watching embossing powders before, I'm not going to show you anything that is going to be so difficult that you're going to go, no. It may look difficult, and it may make you look like a rock star for doing it, but I promise you, it's going to be something that you'll be able to feel proud of and accomplished when you finish. So I have Winter Chicken Dinner to talk about, and really quickly, I've had a lot of emails about when we announced the Winter Chicken Dinners. So for Facebook, if you've been following us on Facebook, you know I did live from Creativation from so many booths, and then I did live from Creative World from so many booths, and we always kind of smile at the manufacturer and say, could you give us a prize or two to give away too? And they're always so very gracious with us and give us wonderful things to give to you. But where do we post the winners? We don't post the winners of the Facebook postings here on YouTube. No. That's on Facebook. And I usually post them every Saturday when I post the next YouTube. If you see the YouTube and you click the body of the posting, you'll see down towards the bottom we announce all the winners. So when are we going to announce the winners from Creativations and Creative World? Well, probably next Saturday, not this Saturday. We're still trying to figure out what I did and who I saw and what prizes are coming in. But if you're looking for the winners from Facebook, from Creativations or Creative World, or anytime you're looking for winners and you follow us on Facebook, it's always on Saturday and it's always in the posting that has the YouTube in it. So hopefully that helps. Boy, I said hopefully a lot. That helps all of you find out if you're a lucky winner chicken dinner. Speaking of, I have 2 of them from last week, which was the best of Simply Defined. Again, a YouTube that was supposed to have released much earlier, but it just had to wait. So, what are you winning? Well, I couldn't give any of the Simply Defined product away because it's a one and done and people were ordering it. So I said I would give the Stacey's favorite things away. And I have put together a prize package for both of you of things that I love, things that I adore, things in the crafty world that I wish I had thought of. And the prize package, well, it's chock full. Really chock full, because I couldn't decide. It's like, I like all of this. How do I not send them this over this? So you're gonna get it all, these 2 winners. Congratulations, because wahoo kachoo for you. Trust me. Now, you're probably wondering, well, am I a winner or not? Okay, I have got 2 of you. First off, Jan Eastwick. Jan, congratulations. You're going to receive a bundle of Stacey's favorite things, and I hope that you find that they become your favorite things too. And I hope you like what I like. So Jan Eastwick, congratulations, but you're not alone. You have a friend in Judy Seligstein? Judy Seligstein? I'm gonna go with that. Hey Judy, congratulations. Oh, we gotta do our snapping. You're a winner, chicken dinner. Judy and Jan. Judy and Jan, they're a winner, chicken dinner. How are you going to claim your prizes, Judy and Jan? You're gonna go to scrapbookingmadesimple.com, look for the link that says winner, chicken dinner. Click it, follow the directions, and then we will send you back an email confirming that you are indeed our prize winner. Why do I say that? Well, because my maiden name was Brown, or maybe yours is Smith, or in fact, my married name is Park, Stacey Park. Well, by George, there may be a jillion Stacey Parks out there. Do I think that there's probably a jillion Judy? Sleegston. I can't do it, Judy, but I bet there's not too many of you out there. But when we have a name that's very, very common, we just have to confirm that you are indeed our winner chicken dinner. Like Jan Eastwick. I bet there's quite a few Jan Eastwicks out there. So congratulations, girls. Don't forget to claim your prize within 30 days of the first airing of this YouTube. If not, they go into the bundle of lost misfit prizes that nobody's claimed, and we use them for prizes for our anniversary sale. Also, Shop That Didn't Hop update. Several hundreds of the orders have gone upstairs and we have begun to ship. So if you were in the first 2 minutes of the Shop That Didn't Hop, your order is picked, packed, pulled, and on a shipping rack. So the orders have begun to ship, and we will just continually process 200 orders at a time until we are all done. The first day encompasses about 80% of the orders, and the last day encompasses about 10% of the orders. So once we get through the first day, the rest of the days go very, very, very quickly, but I'm excited to tell you we have begun and they have begun to ship. Congratulations, wahoo, and thank you for your patience. All right. Now, what do we have for you today? Well, like I said, Stampendous And embossing powders, hopefully in a way that you hadn't thought of, or maybe you forgot, or you were afraid to try, or you always thought, could I, would I, should I? This is the time to grab a piece of paper and a pencil because you will want to take notes because this is a technique-driven YouTube. All right, are you ready? I'm gonna pause for just a minute. Here's my pause face. Okay, are you back? I always do a pause face because I never want to have my eyes half closed when you pause me. So we're going to get started for today. I'm going to tilt on down, and it's good to see you guys. Wahoo, kachoo. All right, let's see if I can tilt on in, get it in. I think that's pretty good. What do you think? I'm going to go with that. All right, so this is the make and take that's going on downstairs right now. Every Saturday we do a free in-store make and take, and this is using a stamp from Stampendous and their beautiful embossing powder on my black cardstock. Is that not gorgeous? I love, love, love it. So if you're anywhere in sunny California on a Saturday, come play with us. Now we also did this version so people could have a choice. And again, using their tulip stamp and then their embossing powder. So this is not a stamped image, this is actually embossed. It's a powder that we're going to be using. And it's so very, very pretty, and it leaves a slight gloss on the finished product, on the stamp where you've embossed it. You can see a slight gloss, and this one has got a little bit of shimmer and shine. Isn't that beautiful? So that's what's going on today. If you're anywhere in sunny California, come play with me because I'm out there all day long. Now, what is embossing powder? All right, quickly. Embossing powder is just that. It's a powder. Looks like black talcum powder. Comes in a million different colors and a million different styles. This is an exclusive kit that we have just at Scrapbooking Made Simple of different embossing powders and fragments. It's called Earth and Sky. And these all are going to do exactly what this black embossing powder is going to do. But how do you make embossing powder work? Do you just shake it on some paper with some glue on it and it sticks? How do you make embossing powder work? Well, it's normally used with stamps. So we normally take it and use it with a stamped image. And I'm gonna do that right now. So today we're gonna be playing with the rose set from Stampendous. It has the roses and then the dies to match. We're selling it as a bundle, and I wanna say they retail for almost $32 for the two of them. But in this YouTube Yummy, you're going to be able to get both the dies and the stamps for $23.94. They have another set that I'll show you a bit later on with the hydrangeas at same price, amazing. But I want to show you how to play with embossing powder. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is take out my stamp, and these are cling stamps. They're not clear, they're cling. And you should know inside this package, you also get stencils. They give you stencils that match, so that's really very, very nice of them. So this is a cling stamp, which means it's rubber on the bottom and cling on the top. How do you use it though? Well, you need to have a stamping block. Now these are all different sizes of stamping blocks, and once you own them, you don't have to buy them again. They last forever and ever and ever. This set is by Do Crafts. You get all the blocks for $12.50, and then they're on sale. And then they have another set that's a larger set that we have exclusive at Scrapbooking Made Simple, and that's even less than $12.50. But the idea is once you have a nice set of blocks, you never have to buy them again. And you want as many sizes as you possibly can get. So I'm gonna be using, and I love the little storage, I'm gonna be using my stamp block, and the cling stamp literally clings right to it. That's what it does. It clings. And then when I want to take it off, I peel it off. When I want to put it back on, I put it back on. And the idea is it's stuck by static. it's not sticky. This isn't sticky at all. And you will find that if it stops clinging to your block, it's probably because there's too much oil from your hands, either on your block or on your stamp. Or you've got too much embossing powder, there's too much going on. You know, you've got little pieces of embossing powder on there. They're easy to clean, both the block and the stamp. All you have to do is wash them in dishwash, like a Dove or Palmolive. Just give them a light rinse off and then let them dry, and they're going to start clinging all back together again. So stamp sets are very handy to have because, again, you can use this stamp again and again and again and again. Once you own it, you've got it forever. Now, I'm going to be stamping on what's called a gush mat. And my gush mat is actually twice this big. We've cut it in half. And a gush mat allows you to make a really good impression with your stamped image. If you're stamping on a hard surface, that stamp has nothing to sink into to make a good impression on your paper. So, Doris had a gush mat, and we used to sell the Doris gush mat all the time, but it was really big and we had to cut it in half to ship it to you. And customers got really not very happy with us that we had to cut it in half. So I just came out with my own that's 8.5 by 11, easy for us to ship. And what that does is it allows you, when you stamp your image onto your paper, it allows that stamp to sink down into that paper and make a better contact. But we're not stamping, we're embossing. So I'm going to be using my Versamark. Versamark, something that's important in everybody's arsenal. Even if you don't emboss, when you use a Versamark, it allows you to watermark paper to make a beautiful background. Versamark is, again, something that basically, it needs to go on your basic craft kit. Now, Versamark comes in a full-size pad. It comes in a little dinky mini, which if you're not a big stamper or a big embosser, then just get the little dinky mini, because they also sell a re-inker, which means even if this is the only one you buy and it dries out, then you just buy the re-inker and you could re-ink this probably for the rest of your life. The other thing that's really important is an oops pin. This is a Versamark oops pin. So the same medium that's in here is also in here, and is also in here and in here. Why do you need an oops pin? Well, if you're going to use your Versamark because you want to do some sort of an embossing and you stamp, but you missed just a little bit of the tip of the flower, or you didn't quite get the little lines in the leaves, the Versamark pen allows you to go in and draw, just quickly dot that little element in so that you don't have to restamp all over again. It's very, 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 very nice to have. And it's relatively inexpensive. It's just a few dollars. It's a frustration saver. So I'm going to take my big Versamark pad and I am going to ink up my stamp. Now that's plenty, and I can you see that there's a sheen on that stamp now? That tells you that the Versamark is there. I'm then going to give 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. Remember, when you're stamping, you're not doing chest compressions. You want good all over pressure, but you're not trying to revive it. It isn't gonna happen. And then you pull. Now, let's see if I can get it in this shot. I don't know if you can see. There's a watermarked image. I just don't know if I can do it, if I can get in there. There's a watermarked image. Versamark is not like a regular ink. It's not like a stamp ink where it would leave the yellow behind. It is a clear medium that will allow you to then take that beautiful embossing powder and drizzle it on top. So I'm going to bring over my little funnel that I made, and I'm going to drizzle only half of it just so you can see. So embossing powder can be used again and again and again. I double stamped. So I've got my embossing powder on just half of my image. So you can see, you can't see it down here, but it is up there. Now I can pour it. And you will see that embossing powder cling to where that medium stamped. Now, until I heat it, it can be completely wiped off. It's never going to dry. You have to do something with it that's going to take it from a powder to a solid. So I think I'm just going to stamp one more time right on the back. I'm going to pretend that that doesn't exist. And I'm going to bring my stamped image over. And I'm going to re-ink it with my Versamark. And I'm going to put it down on my paper. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, give a nice press. I'm on my gush pad, and then I'm going to pull up. And there is, I can see my watermark when I move it. So I'm going to take my embossing powder. Now I can just funnel it right back in. So you use very, very little, which is why these little jars are so nice, because they give you a really good sampling of embossing powders that are it's going to last for quite some time anyway. So I'm going to just kind of dump it on down, and you can see it clinging. And then I'm going to dump it on down. And you can see it clinging. And then anywhere I think I didn't quite get enough, I can just roll it right on over. And it will cling. So now I've got my beautiful rose. But remember, if I don't do something to it, it's just going to wipe right off. See, there's a little, it's a little bit light on these two leaves. It's not quite as dark on the edges. So I'm just going to go in there and grab some of that embossing powder and just go right back over those two little leaves again, just to see if I can get a little bit more to stick. Oh yeah, much better. Can you see that they're much better now? Okay, so I'm going to put all of this away because all of it's still good to use next time. You can see that it goes a very, very, very long way. Put my lid on so I don't spill. And I'm going to now take my heat tool. This is a heated gun. This one is by Ranger. We like the heat tool that looks like a hairdryer. Is this a hairdryer? No. Can you use a hairdryer? No, a hairdryer does not get hot enough to take this from a powder into a solid. You need to use a true embossing tool. Now there are the ones that are more cylinder-like. Can you use those? Yes, but you really need to be pretty good with them. Why? Because those cylinders give off much more heat, faster. It will take this and turn it into a solid if I heat it with a cylinder in a heartbeat. The problem with that is that it also can burn the paper and burn the embossing powder. Now, if you've been doing this for 20 years and you're comfortable with a cylinder, absolutely, because you've been doing it long enough to know when to move and how not to burn. But if you want to be sure that you never burn anything, well, then the heated tool is the one, because it does take longer, but it also doesn't, I can get it right next to, I can get it right on top of my paper without it worrying that it's going to burn my paper. And that you could not do with a cylinder tool. Now what's happening is this powder that I dumped on is going from a a powder to a solid. It's heating, and as it's heating, it's melting. So when you think of embossing and you think of beautiful formal invitations, and they have that printing on them that's slightly raised and has a beautiful finish to it, well, that's what this is. That's what you're doing. A heat emboss, which is totally different than an embossing folder. An embossing folder is something you run through your die cutting machine. Now I'm heating this up, and you'll notice I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. A lot of people like to do this, and I don't. The reason is you need that heat to stay consistent and solid so that it melts that powder, and every time you move your tool, you're adding heat, but then you're taking heat away, but then you're adding heat, but then you're taking heat away. So every time you take it away, it instantly starts to cool. You've removed that heat. So if you just let your tool stay in one place, and then you go over the whole thing, you end up with something that's beautifully embossed. Now, it's not an ink. It isn't. It's not an ink. And when this dries, it takes just a minute to dry. You'll be able to put your finger over it, and you can feel that raised embossing, just like those beautiful formal invitations. But is this the only color embossing powder comes in? Oh, heavens, no. No, no, no. We can do it in several different colors. Let's quickly just do a really pretty gold. So I'm going to take my Versamark. I'm going to ink up my stamp just like I did before. I'm going to grab my gush pad, put my black paper down, give my stamp a 1, 2, 3 ABC. Nice impression, but not chest compressions. Pull up. Oh, maybe this time you can see. Oh, yeah, that's good. Okay, beauty shot of the Versamark. That's the image it left behind, which I am then going to take my embossing powder and just drizzle. I'm a dumper because I know I can put it right back in. So I've got half of it done. Now this is gold, and it looks pretty dull. I mean, that doesn't look very spectacular, does it? But let me put my embossing powder back in my little vial. It all goes back in. You use so little of it. Put my lid on. And then let's heat. And I'm going to start in one section. And then I'm slowly going to move my heat tool all the way around. Now this is pretty dramatic because you can clearly see where the powder has turned into a solid and where it is still a powder. Look at the difference that it makes once you add that heat. From this blah, not very appealing, matte looking, to amazing, I mean the shine on this, and it's dry, and you can feel with your fingers that it's raised. So let's finish it up because it'll be beautiful when it's all done. And again, I'm just going to start from one side. And just let it heat. And you can see I can get it right down on top of it, and I can angle that heat to make sure everything turns. And because the heated tool is a little bit slower, it takes a little bit longer, but I'm sure I'm not going to burn anything. Okay, so this is where I'm at so far. But can you see that big dull space right in the middle? You see that? That tells me I haven't yet heated that powder and changed it to a solid yet. The embossing powder will tell you when you're not done because you're gonna be able to see it. It's gonna look yucky. So I have to finish it. That tells me I missed a spot. So I need to come back and add my heat until that spot is gone. And as it turns, I can see it. And I'm turning my paper just so I can see where I still am missing. A little bit more right there, dead center. There we go. Now that spot is gone. So that is embossing. And that's the easiest way to do your embossing. But there's more to be done with it than that. This is just the easiest thing to do with embossing. And you see it wasn't difficult. It's taking a stamp with a medium that holds the embossing powder. But now what do you do with it? Well, there's more. Let's move on. Now I want to get a little fun with the embossing powder. I've got beautiful colors, absolutely gorgeous colors with different finishes. I've got, this is embossing powder, glitter embossing powder, and I've got beautiful greens that are variegated and just gorgeous, and I've got tinsel with blues, and I mean the embossing powder comes in just about every color you could possibly imagine. But having a good set of basics is always nice. Now I'm going to take, and let's Versamark. What if you didn't want your flower to have a black border? What if you weren't going to color this in? What if you wanted to do something easy but gives a beautiful effect and you don't want to color? Okay, well let's do that because we've got everything we need. So 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. Nice pressure. And if you're concerned about the pressure, you can always, I moved it. You can always turn your card over and then just apply pressure from the back side if you want. I'm not going to do that because I've got this off and I can see my watermark is pretty good. Now, inside the kits that Stampendous has done, there's the basic embossing powder kit, which is so nice to have because you get several different embossing powders, everything from gold to silver tinsel to kaleidoscope, which is very iridescent-y, to detailed white, detailed black. But you're not buying a really big jar of it that usually retails for about $4, sometimes $5. You're getting a very nice sampling of about every basic you would ever want to have for a much lower price. There's, I think, 14 jars, so 14 times 5 is $70. Does that sound right? If you were to buy the full size, here you're going to get those 14 jars for $26.99. Less a YouTube yummy, and then you'll be able to figure out what embossing powders do you use most often. Do you need a large full bottle of black? You might, but do you need a large full bottle of the silver tinsel? No, this silver tinsel may last you for quite some time, so why buy the full bottle? This is nice because every color they make here, they also sell in full-size bottles, so you don't have to replace the whole kit. It's the same with the exclusive Earth and Sky kit. And this is exclusive to Scrapbooking Made Simple. The only place you're going to find it is here. This not only incorporates embossing powder, but it incorporates some different micas and flakes that you're going to be able to use as well. Now I wanted to play with my stamp and I wanted to paint it sort of in a way. And this has been sitting there for quite some time, but that's okay. It's Versamark. It's meant to stay wet. Inside the little kits come these cute little spoons that I used to use for glitter and I would get them from 7-Eleven, but they come inside and that gives you the opportunity to just drizzle on and play. Now I know that I have a rose right at the top because while I can see it and you can't, I can see exactly where that rose is. And I'm just going to drizzle on a little bit, not too much. I actually probably used more than I needed. And I'm just going to move that right over the rose. And you can see that rose. Can you see it coming up? Can you see it? But then I want to take some of the really pretty green because I've got those leaves. Remember, I've got the leaves and the stems. Now I'm going to take a little bit of the green, and there's several greens in the Earth and Sky, so I'm going to mix some of them, and I'm going to drizzle it right on over all of my leaves. And less is more. You can always add more, but it's hard to take it away. So less is more. So I've got some of this green going on, and I'm going to put it right up against my flowers because I've got those leaves coming off. And then maybe I'll take a little bit of my gold, my glitter gold, and I'm just going to move this around just so I can see where my outline is. Can you see? I just barely tapped it. So now I'm going to add some of my glitter gold. And yes, this is an embossing powder. And I'm going to go right on those leaves, kind of on the edges. And add a little bit of glitter to it. Maybe even a little towards the top of my flowers. Very little. And then I'm going to kind of move it all over and shake it all around. Grab my little make sure that every area has got embossing powder on it. And then tap it off. Got a little bit of a double stamp, but that's okay. Because it's powder, I could take a little bit of a paintbrush and just go in there and get that little extra double stamp off. All right. So that's where I'm at. I was able to take my embossing powder. Now you can save this. You can make this into a mishmash. If you've got a little canister, a little Tupperware, a little whatever, make a mishmash colored embossing powder. I don't think I have anything here to save it in, so I know. Yes, I just dumped it. Sorry. I need to have a little mishmash pot. But now I'm going to take my heat tool and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to heat this. A little bit of a double stamp here and there. I'm going to get right down on top of it. And I'm going to hold it in the same place until I see it starting to turn. And you actually will see it turn. It is the first time people see embossing and it turns color, it's like magic to them. It's awesome. So I can see it turning. And I'm not doing this, I'm giving the powder an opportunity to melt like it's supposed to. And that little glitter that's in the gold is just starting to sparkle and shine and almost wink at me. Now again, if I had done this with a cylinder heat tool, it would be done. But is there a chance of burning it? Yes. Can you see the shimmer and the shine and the gold and the green, and could have added a little more green, and the blue? And I didn't use ink to do this at all. I used embossing powders. And because I used the Stampendous set, they have a matching die to go with it. So the stamps have coordinating dies. And now, and just to show you, so here it is all in black. Here it is in color with a little bit of glitter going on. So if you don't want to color, you just want to color it in the embossing powder, you can paint with your embossing powder. You just drizzle it where it needs to go. Drizzle the roses in one color and the leaves in another color. But because I've got the die to go with it, I can then pull over my Sizzix Big Shot machine. This will work with your Cuttlebug machine, your Platinum machine, just about any standard die cutting machine on the market. I am using a magnetic platform. It will still work if you do not have one and you have a multi-purpose platform. Multi-purpose platform is not magnetic, but it's what comes with your machine. Having the magnetic platform is very handy. Why? Because I want to die cut out that shape, and I have the die to do it. This is a wafer die, thin, that's why we call it a wafer die. It's going to line up. I'm going to be able to line it up, see what I need to cut, and the nice thing about the magnetic platform is that it doesn't move once you've put it down. If this was on a normal multi-purpose platform, I wouldn't be able to do this. It would slide all the way down, and we would recommend you using a Post-it note or something to keep your die in place so it doesn't slip and slide. With the magnetic platform, that's not a problem. Then I just roll it through. I only need to roll it through once because this is an open frame die, which means it's not intricate at all. If you want to roll it back just because it makes it easier to pull it out, that's fine. And poof, there it is. So I was able to die cut out after I embossed it to get my beautiful, beautiful image of my rose. Just using embossing powders. I didn't use separate inks. And then once it's down, it's down. Doesn't move at all. It's fabulous. And it gives it that raised feel that when somebody feels it, it's got a texture to it. So it's not a flat piece of paper. It adds dimension, it adds depth. And when you think of heat embossing, people always think of those beautiful formal invitations that always cost so much money. But here, with embossing powder, you could do it yourself with your words, with your stamps. And then if you have the coordinating dies, well, that's just an extra bonus. That's just an extra bonus. So we painted with it. We took our embossing powders and we drizzled on the different colors where we wanted it so that we didn't end up with just a solid color. This is fairly basic. This is adding a little more wow and a little more pizzazz without any of the work. Still same amount of work. You still had to drizzle it on and then tap it off and then heat it. But this gave you much more of a wow factor. Something to do with your embossing powders. They don't have to just stay your one color. Now, if you are using the black, and I'm going to toss this one because I've got the black all on the back of it. I've got my cleanup cloth. Clean up all my extra embossing powder. It's good for glitter, embossing powder, just about anything, but it just picks it all up so it's not a mess. Let's grab another piece of white paper. And I'm gonna stamp again. Put these over there, grab my gush, grab my paper, grab my Versamark, ink it up, and let's do something else. So have you ever seen people who just color beautifully? They grab their Copics or they grab their watercolor pencils or whatever it is they own, and they just make the most beautiful things coloring. That is not me. I'm not good at it. I would so like to be, but it is not my forte. Truly, it isn't. Technique is my forte. I love to learn how everything works. That makes my heart so happy. Okay, so I've got got a little glitter on here, but I've got my watermark on there. I'm gonna grab my little funnel again, and I'm gonna grab my black embossing powder. And you're like, but Stacey, we just did this. I know, hang tight, trust me. You know what, I'm just gonna lay it down. I'm gonna drizzle, 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 drizzle. I'm not gonna use two colors, so I can put all of this back in my little pot there. I'm not gonna have any waste. Tap off. Now, if there's any place that I'm not happy with, that I want to go back and add a little bit more just because I think it needs to be a little darker, maybe it didn't quite get as much as it needed, I can just drizzle that right back on, let it sit there, and then tap it off again. And as long as that medium is still wet underneath, it's still going to hold. So now I've got a beautiful image ready to heat emboss. I'm going to put all of this right back in my little tub. And put my lid on, because I'm the worst about that. Then we're going to heat it up. And you're like, but you just did this in the first go round. I know I did, but I'm not so good at the easy bake oven, like have everything. I need you to see how it's done. And I think if you see it again and again and again, it's okay. But we're gonna do something different to this one. I'm not just gonna leave it on a white piece of paper. I need to heat it all the way up and make sure all of that black turns. Now, people ask about the static. Embossing paper does have static, and that's why there's little black dots on my paper. That's because those little pieces of embossing powder didn't want to tap off when I hit it. How do you get rid of that? Well, they do sell something on the market, a little static pouch for your paper, and you would rub that all over your paper first and then stamp on top of it. And it leaves a little trace of baby powder or talcum powder behind, and that makes all the embossing powder fall off. However, it's like $5.99. You can make your own. Just get a pair of pantyhose, take the toe, put a little bit of cornstarch or baby powder in it, twist it, turn it inside out, twist it, turn it inside out, make a little ball with it, and you've made your own anti-static for your embossing powder. It's that simple. And if I'm gonna spend $5.99 on something, I want it to be something that I cannot make. So I'm embossed, and you can see the little black pieces. That's because my little anti-static ball is downstairs, and I didn't want to run down and get it. But that's okay. So you can see that it's all turned. I can run my finger over it. It's all dry. But now what to do with it? Do you want to color it? Are you really good at coloring? If so, this is where you could take your beautiful markers or your watercolor pencils and go right into it. However, I'm not so good. So I'm gonna take my Memento ink, and I'm gonna start with a dewdrop size because it's the easiest. And I'm gonna start off my page, or off the image. So I'm gonna start higher up here, and I'm gonna work down. Start higher and work down. So I'm gonna put it here, and I'm just gonna kind of blend it on down. Up here, and just kind of blend it on down. And I always start with my yellow. And I kind of do yellow everywhere because it's a really good base color. Then I have my next color. Same thing, kind of start up here and then blend it on down. Now if I want to add my yellow back in, just come right back in and blend them together. And then I've got my green. And my green, I'm just gonna go over everything. I'm just gonna get it right in there and go over everything. So in a matter of just a few minutes, not even a few minutes, that's what I've got. Kind of a hot mess. Totally agree. Absolutely. Until you take your Big Shot machine, your multi-purpose platform or your magnetic platform, whichever works, whichever one you have, your cut plate, your embossed image that's all inked, let's see if I can poke those little pokey pieces out. 1, 2, 3. One more up there. Your die that's going to cut it all out, and I line it up. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This is a handmade card. You're gonna line it up as best as possible and then go. Right now, all we've used is some paper and some embossing and some ink. See how it doesn't move? Put my do not cut plate right on top and send it on through. You may hear some creaks and cracks. It's perfectly fine. And then bring it back if you want to. You don't have to, but for me it's easy. Bring it on back. And then pop it out. And it's colored. Is that not awesome? It's ready to go. I mean, we are talking easy peasy coloring. All I used was some Memento inks. Holy smokes, artichokes. You know what? I am gonna bring this one back. I was gonna throw it away, but I've decided to bring it back, even though it's got the stuff on the other side. I'm gonna do it one more time. So the key to this is embossing first. You have to put the embossing powder down first. You have to heat that first. Why? So if I had inked this all up and then stamped and thrown my embossing powder down, there's a good possibility that some of that ink still may be wet. And if it's wet, that powder's going to stick to it. And if that powder sticks to it, well, then you just have a mess. So if you do your embossing first and then go in and color, so start with my yellow, because that's me, I'm a yellow girl. Kind of start off and bring it in And then let's do a pink. So kind of start off and then bring it in. And then if you want to go back with your yellow and blend it in. And then let's hit some yellow here and there, kind of all over, just to give that green a little bit of depth to it. And then let's take the green. And I know it just looks like a hot mess, but it's the creativity in the process. It's the big reveal when you die cut it out and it looks amazing. It's like those home shows where they take somebody's fixer-upper and just makes it gorgeous. That reveal always, I never fail to go, oh! And that's kind of how I feel with some of the embossing. Maybe add a little more yellow just to give some more definition. Again, kind of looks like a hot mess. Bring our machine on over. Lay it right down. We've got our multi-purpose platform or our magnetic platform, our cut plate, because you can see it's got cuts in it, our paper that's ready to be die cut, our die with the ridges face down. Those ridges are what's cutting the paper. This makes my heart so happy because it's just the most awesome little reveal. It's like, oh, and I did it in no time at all. And maybe you're not the best colorer. We all have our things that we excel at. So don't think that you can't have those beautiful, beautiful colored images. You can. This is just an easy way of getting it done. You don't have to tell anybody it was this easy. You can let them think it took you hours in front of the TV set, getting just the right colors for them. I won't tell. As long as you don't tell on me. Uh-huh. How yummy is that? So now we've taken embossing folder and done something else. First, what we did is first thing we did is we just showed you how to use it. Second thing we did is we took different colors of embossing powders to make your image more than just one color, to really accentuate it. Now, you could go in and you could color this on top of this with the inks too. Sure you could, why not? Then we took it and we just colored with basic Memento ink. They're $2.29. There's 36 colors. If you don't do lots of stamping or other things, don't buy a full-size Memento pad. Buy the dewdrops. It lets you have all the colors without having to spend a fortune to get, oh, so very pretty. But we're not done. We're gonna move on. I've got one more thing to show you. And this time it involves making a background with your embossing powder. Let me move those on over, and I'm not gonna need this for right now. Now this time we're not gonna stamp it all. We are gonna play with Stacey tape. Stacey tape is my double-sided adhesive. It comes in widths from 1/8 of an inch to 6 inches. We are currently sold out of the 5 and 6 inch. However, it is on the way and should be here next week. We should have it back in stock. It's a double-sided tape that will hold glitter and beads and paper and acetate and fabric and metal. It holds just about anything and everything you could want. The thing about Stacey tape is that it's very strong. It die cuts beautifully, and it's also heat resistant. So the minute I pull this off, and again, this is about a 2.5 inch width. The minute I pull that off, it's sticky right now. I have to do something with it. I've got to. So when I peel it off, I've got to put it down on paper. But once it's down on the paper, if I don't take this top liner off, I could leave it like this forever. It's once you expose that second, the sticky underneath that second top liner, you have to do something with it. Now I'm gonna pull over my Earth and Wind set of embossing powders and micas. And you can see they've got cute, pretty, beautiful little micas that can be incorporated. And I'm going to make a background using just embossing powder. So I peel off my top liner. Now this is the only thing that won't stick. So if you need to pick this up or if you need to put it back down, keep your liners, keep some of them at least so that you can use it as a handle if you need to pick it up, but these also make really great masks. Now I'm gonna take the embossing powder and I'm gonna take my embossing powder and I'm gonna drizzle it right onto the tape. I'm gonna take my little spoon because less is more. You can always add, but because I'm gonna be commingling embossing powders, you can't necessarily take away. Oh, see, lots in that little drop. So I'm gonna take that and I'm just gonna move it on down. Move it on down. And make sure it gets everywhere. That's what's left in. I'm gonna put that right back on there. And I'm gonna use up every little bit of what I took out. Move it on down. Okay, good. Now I'm gonna grab my next color. My next color, I'm gonna use a chunky embossing shabby blue. It's got a little bit of white and a little bit of gold and a little bit of blue. And this, again, I'm just gonna kind of drizzle where I want it. And you can do this on white paper, you can do it on black paper, you can do it on colored cardstock, you can do it straight to your card. And I'm going to kind of move that in and maybe a little bit down and just kind of blend it. Right now it just looks like a hot mess. Then I'm going to take my next color. Ooh, just put my thumb in it. Take my next color. And fill in a big space with this blue. Nice big space with the blue. And take my finger and kind of move it all around so I cover up all that tape. So I don't have any sticky left. And I'm just making layer after layer after layer, and I'm just moving it around. And we can put a little bit of the white back in up here and fill that in a little bit with the shabby and the glitter. Just like right there. And give it a good press in. And then let's take some of the green for the bottom. And let's get some green down here. Use the spoon. And just drizzle, 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 drizzle. And then take your finger and move, 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 move so it covers up all of that tape. And then let's take the variegated. Oh, it's so pretty. Oh my goodness, this is so gorgeous. And let's drizzle some of that on in between. Not too much, not too little. And then last but not least, I'm going to use an aged embossing powder, which is super chunky, crazy chunky. And I'm going to put that down there too, because that's going to add this gold element to it. And it's going to melt right into the rest of the color. And it's just going to look beautiful. Okay. And I think I'm going to give that a good press down. And then I'm going to start to heat. Now I'm starting a little bit high because my embossing powder is a little loose because there's not that wet medium holding it down, just the tape. But the tape doesn't buckle when you heat it. It doesn't melt, it stays, it's heat resistant. And I'm just gonna let that start to melt into each other. And you'll see it turn, and then you know you can move on. So I've gradually gotten lower and lower to it. I started high so it could start to melt, and then I gradually moved lower and I got lower and lower to it. And those colors are starting to melt into each other. And the chunkier the embossing powder, the longer it's going to take to melt. Because the particles are bigger, they're not as fine. Now I'm going to move on down. Now I'm going to bring it up a little bit because I'm getting into some of the chunky areas down here, and I want to give it a chance to start to melt before I come all the way down in. And I'm just moving slowly over it so they can all melt into each other. I'm not going too fast. And again, if you had a cylinder, you'd probably be done. But I don't want to burn anything. I would rather it take longer and not have to do it 2 or 3 times because I've burned something. But you know your skill level. You know what's going to work best for you. That gold is just melting right into it. It's beautiful, and it's right on the tape. I didn't use any medium at all. Make sure I got this blue really good. It almost has a glass-like effect when it's done. Oh, there that blue goes. Oh, you just see it. Still got a little bit right there in the middle. So I'm moving my tool around, my heated tool, until I'm sure I've got it all. Just trying to hit it from every angle. Oh, I've got a hole right there. And I'm just about done. Okay. So this is what I've got. And I know you're thinking, well, what is that? Well, let's take it. And you would use a lovely trimmer. I'm freehanding it. Let's put some Stacey tape on the back of it real quick, just so it tapes on down. Are you with me so far? I made my own background. Look at that, out of embossing powder. And all I did was drizzle. There's no right and there's no wrong. But it's fabulous when it's done. It's absolutely amazing to make your own, instead of color washing or gelatoing or whatever you do to make your backgrounds or using a pre-made paper. Take your embossing. Gosh, I think I've got a butterfly somewhere. Take your embossing powders and make the most beautiful backgrounds by just letting them melt into each other. I know it kind of looks like a hot mess until you add your elements to it. And then all of a sudden, it's gorgeous. And if you've already got embossing powders and you haven't been using it with Stacey tape, start to play. I could die cut out the big rose. Where's the big rose? I could die cut out this rose using the die, having Stacey tape on the paper and then peeling it off and drizzling my embossing powder on top of that. You have options. But you also need to know many different ways to use what you have or what you're thinking about buying. Embossing powder isn't just for stamping your words to get a really pretty image, a raised image, or taking a, I mean, yes, that's lovely. It is, looky, we did beautiful things with it. That's just using embossing powder the basic way, the simplest way. But isn't there so much more to be done? From taking and using an easy way to color, learning how to use the different colors to almost do a paint with, drizzling on so you don't have to have just a single color of embossing powder, to making beautiful, custom, stunning backgrounds that you then layer your elements on top of. They're gorgeous. Look, it's got some of the mica pieces melted into the embossing powder. Look at how beautiful. It does it all by itself. All you did was drizzle it on and heat. I did this one earlier. Actually very proud of this one. When I first got this, I was playing and did this and I was very, very, very happy, so I saved it. And then you just mat it onto your card, add a sentiment, maybe a bow if you really want, and you're good to go. You've created just beautiful things using a powder that changes into a solid. You do have to have the heat tool. You can't use a blow dryer. It just won't work. So I'm hoping that this kind of expanded your horizons on what you can do with embossing powder, because there really is just so much more that is available to you than just the basics. It's about taking it and trying it and playing with it and learning about it, and then letting your creativity take hold. Would you have ever thought to just emboss on a white piece of paper and then take your inexpensive inks, go in and color it that way just by smearing? I'm good at the smear. I got that technique down. I rock at that. Just by smearing. And when you have dies and stamps that coordinate, they of course give you more functionality. They give you more opportunity to create. So I have got, let me show you don't know what that was. Let me show you the product first, and then I have got so many samples to show you. So the Earth and Sky Embossing Powder and Mica Kit. It's called the Encrustive Adhesives. and it's exclusively at Scrapbooking Made Simple. $26.99 and then on sale for a YouTube Yummy. We also have the Embossing Powder Basics, which is the go-to for everybody because it gives you a beautiful sampling of every kind of embossing powder without you spending a fortune for them. These two kits are an amazing value, truly an amazing value, and you will be able to play. Is Stacey tape the only tape that you can do this with? No. If you have Sukwang tape, it's also heat resistant. I think the Elizabeth Craft tape is heat resistant. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure the Sukwang tape is. So don't feel you have to run out and buy Stacey tape if you already have double-sided adhesive similar to this. Try it first. It's not going to cause any harm if you put some on paper, you heat it and it bubbles. Well, then you know it doesn't work. You would rather save your money, not spend it on something you already have, and get something that's exclusive or new or different that you can't have anywhere else or that you don't already have in your stash. So you got to look at things, and you know, I love Sukwang tape. It's great tape. Mine's a little bit longer, a little bit stronger, and a little less money, but I would hate for you to think that this is the only tape that you could use. Absolutely not. Use what you've got. Then we have the rose set, and again, I think it's almost $32, but we'll have it for just under, I think it's $23.94. You get the die and the stamps. Yes, both of them for that price. We have the roses, and we have the hydrangea. Again, same thing. I think it's $31. What does it say over here? $31.98 on sale for $23.98. There we go. For both, not just one. You get it all. And then we have the tulip, which is what I used to make the make and take going on downstairs. This is a die only. It's $11.99, and yes, it'll be on sale. Or it's a stamp only. Holy smokes, artichokes. It's a stamp only, and it'll be on sale, but there's no die for it. And then we also have from Stampendous, we have their cute little borders. These are all dies, and you'll see them in several of the cards I'm going to show you. So let's talk samples. Let's talk samples. Okay, so let's do some of the encrusted technique. You've got the the sky going down and then into the ground. Is that gorgeous? And these are just to play with. These didn't even make it to full cards yet. These were just play ones. But then you can take that rose, the large rose, which is right here, the stamp, and you can stamp it again and again and again to make your own background. So that's stamped and embossed to make your own pattern background paper. The roses are just gorgeous. And then this one, remember when I said that the stamps come with stencils as well? There's a stencil built into the stamp set. This is part of the stencil. So pretty. Gotta push some of this out of the way. I have got so many samples. Is that not gorgeous? And then right behind it, a completely different look. And here we have a beautiful, beautiful. And again, all you have to do is take your Memento inks and squish and play and move them all around and blend them together and then die cut out. So pretty. Then we also have some, well, I showed you this one with the hydrangea. But then we also have some of the hydrangea cards done with the stamps and the dies. Remember I told you you'd be seeing that border. There it is with ribbon running through it. Those little border dies. Here it is again with a slightly darker ribbon. Then we have Pretty in Pink. They're gorgeous, aren't they? Stampendous did quite a few of these for us. Thank you. Well, they did them when they came for the anniversary sale. And they did a lot of these for as samples for the customers while they were watching. Now this is using a must-haves. That's a Stacey die. A simply defined must-haves. So they absolutely incorporated my must-haves. God bless their pea-picking heart. So pretty. And we've got some, oh yeah, see, here's a must-haves. So there's the rose with my must-haves around it. Just lovely. And so easy to do when you have the dies and the stamps and the embossing powders to play with, or your inks to play with. So easy. And I think the oh, what do I have over here? Holy smokes, Art, I have the tulips. Oh my goodness gracious, look at the tulips. Can't forget the tulips. Now these are stamps only, so there's not a coordinating die. But they're beautiful, and the stamp is only $11.99. Here's the tulips, but you also get the cute little windmill as part of the set, and here's the windmill. And again, they used my must-have ovals. So this little windmill comes with that tulip set. And here they fussy cut. I think we did this one. This is us. That's Yvette. Yvette fussy cut out the tulips to make the border. And I bet this one is Yvette too. This looks like Yvette. So pretty. And again, my must-haves top note. And I know this one's Yvette. She used watercolor to do this, to do the blue. She just used watercolor to add that blue around it to give it the depth and dimension. I don't know which ones I like better. I think they're all so pretty. All right, I don't know. I should stop showing you, but because it's taking time, but they're beautiful. How do you not show this one? It's gorgeous, right? Okay, I have to stop. Hopefully that was enough to inspire you. I'm gonna tilt on up and I'm gonna say, tilt on back. Hello, nice to see you. Holy smokes, artichokes. Okay, I hope you learned something new about embossing powder that maybe you didn't know before. I hope you like the kits that Stampendous has put together, one of them exclusively just for us, and that you take advantage of the rockstar pricing on their dies and stamp sets, because after this YouTube, they go back up to $31.98, not $23.98. That is a big savings when you're getting both the die and the stamp. Now the embossing powders, if you don't have the heated tool and you haven't embossed before, try the heated tool before you graduate to perhaps one of the cylinders. I want you to be successful, and I know with the heated tool it may take just a little bit longer, but it's not going to burn your paper. And remember, Versamark is your friend. So if you don't have it in your stash, you're going to want to get it eventually. It's just one of those all-purpose things that you go to, you use a lot, and I think you'll be really happy with it. It does beautiful watermarking on plain paper. If you were to take a stamp and just stamp again and again and again and didn't put any embossing powder on it but let it dry, it would have a monotone watermark on that paper, making that paper a new background paper. You took it from just plain to wow. So where are you going to find all this great product? Well, you're going to find it at scrapbookingmadesimple.com. scrapbookingmadesimple.com. It is me, Stacey, Scrapbooking Made Simple. I am done for the day. It is time for me to go take a nap. Hopefully the jet lag doesn't doesn't take too much longer to wear off. I was up at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, wide awake, hello. All right, you guys, it's good to see you. It's good to be back. I will see you next week. Bye.